Something different today. No aluminum, no plastic. This is a solid block of wood, and that changes everything from the sound to the feel and how you care for it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're checking out the WK84, a wired wooden mechanical keyboard from Glencreag. This review was sponsored by them, but they didn't get to see this video ahead of time, and everything we say is entirely our own take. If you like these kind of reviews, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. It really helps us keep doing what we do. Out the box, the WK84 immediately feels premium in a different way. Not CNC aluminum premium, but furniture grade premium. The wood is the first thing you notice. It's warm to the touch, dense, and every unit has a different grain pattern. If you like natural materials, you're probably gonna like this one. Now, in terms of layout and features, it's a compact TKL, 84 keys, aero cluster, F-row, and no numpad. It is also wired only, so no Bluetooth or 2.4 GHz. It's got RGB backlight, it's nothing crazy, but it's there, and it's got a hot swappable PCB. And VIA support is here. But to configure it, you'll need to load a JSON file manually, which can be found on Glencreag's website. We look into it a little bit more, and the PCB appears to share a vendor ID with Royal Kludge, which likely means RK is the OEM behind it. Unfortunately, even though some of their newer source code is open, QMK currently bans RK from submitting their firmware upstream. So unless Glencreag switches to a different PCB vendor or forks their own QMK branch, VIA will likely be a manual setup process. Now that's not a deal breaker for most people, but it is something to be aware of. And considering this is a pre-built keyboard, manually loading a JSON file can be intimidating for some if they have never done it before. The stock switches are linear, and it's smooth and surprisingly deep sounding. The board's filled with PE foam, plate foam, case foam, and an ESD sheet, so acoustically it feels well dampened. Here's how it sounds next to our control board. Glencreag is a pretty new name in the keyboard world. They were established in 2023, and up until now, they've been focused mostly on wooden cigar humidors, including ones with humidity control. This is actually the second board. The first one was a full-size retro-style board called the RK104, but the WK84 is their first custom, and it's clearly drawing from that woodworking background. There's real craftsmanship here. The finish is clean, the corners are hand sanded, and the grain feels selected rather than random. They're coming from a different space, but they bring that attention to materials in the keyboard world, and honestly, that's pretty refreshing. The sapele case is the star here. No two boards look the same, and the color tones shift depending on the lighting. It's redder in sunlight and deeper brown under warm LEDs. Everything's rounded just slightly, no hard industrial lines, more of a soft sculpted look. The brass USB-C cutout is one of my favorite touches. It frames the port and gives a bit of a contrast without being flashy. It's small, but it adds to the perception of thoughtfulness in the build. That said, if you're in a bright room or you use your keyboard by a window, you'll want to keep this one out of direct sunlight. Wood can fade and it can warp with humidity. So Think of this as more of a piece of a furniture, and a good one, but it still needs care and the occasional mineral oil touch-up. Now, Glencreag advertises this as a gasket mount, but when you actually type on it, it feels pretty firm, and when we open it up, it's definitely a tray mount. It's got all the characteristics of a tray mount board, including the sound. If you're expecting bounce, you're not going to get that here. Inside, it is using a polycarbonate plate with stabilizers that are plate mounted only. That also means the layout will be fixed. You won't be swapping to a split backspace or anything like that. So it's a bit of a lockdown in terms of customization. There's also no wireless option, and getting inside the case isn't super easy. If you're someone who likes to swap out switches a lot, I'd be careful, especially since the PCB isn't well supported when you're pushing down from the top. This is very much a set it and enjoy it kind of a board, not something for constant tinkering. Let's talk about sound one more time, specifically the keycaps. The stock caps are tall. They are pretty reminiscent of SA profile, sculpted, bold, and very high. If you're used to lower profiles, you might want to pair this with a wrist rest. It makes a big difference in terms of comfort. We tried it with GMK keycaps just to compare, and here's how that sounds. The deeper pitch holds up across both profiles, but the tall keycaps really give it that signature wooden thunk. It's a bit different from aluminum boards, more closed in and less airy. So who is this for? I think this is for someone who wants a beautiful finished board and isn't looking to tinker every week. If you love the feel of natural materials on your desk and don't mind treating a keyboard more like a wooden furniture, this is a great fit. But if you need layout flexibility, screw-in stabs, or wireless support, you'll want to look elsewhere. It competes with pre-built CNC boards at the same price point, and while it won't beat them in terms of modding flexibility, it's offering something they don't: aesthetics and warmth. This next part is more of an open suggestion to Glencreag. The work that went into this case is obvious. It's beautiful, well finished, and distinct in a sea of metal boxes. But once you open it up, the internals don't quite match the same level of intentionality. The tray mount structure, limited layout flexibility, and the RK source PCB all technically work, but they feel more in line with OEM style designs rather than enthusiast built customs. And that's where there's real opportunity here. If Glencreag ever team up with someone like Gondo or Youngcar for PCB design, introduce a true gasket system, or even explore a 60% or 65% layout with friction O-ring mount, they could take this platform to a whole new different level. It wouldn't be just a well-crafted wooden keyboard. It could genuinely appeal to enthusiast crowd, people who care about internals just as much as the aesthetics. The foundation is there. Matching the internals to the thoughtfulness of the case could make Glencreag a serious name in the custom space. So here's the wrap. The WK84 isn't trying to reinvent keyboards, but it does give you something that most don't: a real wood case, clean sound, and a vibe that's more living room than techie setup. You'll want to take care of it, and you'll need to load the via.json file manually and know it's not a gasket mount. But despite those quirks, it's a solid, great sounding pre-built that looks unlike anything else on the market right now. So what do you think? Would you use a wooden keyboard, or is metal kind of more for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this video helped, consider liking and subscribing. We've got a lot more reviews coming up, and as always, we appreciate your support. Love you all, catch you in the next one.